Hello! So this week we are going to go on a hike and learn about some survival things and try to identify them along the way. So before we get started, we are going to talk about the rule of threes. So these are the things that you need to survive. So food, you can go for 3 weeks without food. Water, you can go for 3 days without. Shelter, 3 hours, and air, 3 minutes. So while we're on our hike, we are going to kind of try to find those items while we're out and about. Air, I think we're all good, so we're going to skip that. But we're going to try to identify some food, some water, and some shelter or materials that we can use to create these things. Let's go. Okay, so the first thing we need, because we already have air covered, we're pretty good, is shelter. So some of you might be thinking, well, why would we need shelter first? Well, you need to think about your environment. If it's cold, you need someplace to get warm. If it's hot out, you need someplace to take cover from the heat and to cool down. So that's why we need shelter. So we want to try to make things as easy as possible. We don't want to spend too much energy making a crazy big shelter. We're just looking for something that we can fit in. So I see this kind of bent over branch over here, or even right here. So I'm going to go back here really quick. And I see this branch. It looks pretty good. I could definitely crawl under here. And so then all I'm going to do is start looking for some branches. And I can create a lean-to. Or if you have a tarp or some sort of survival shelter, you can start building that. So we're just going to kind of keep doing that, building it up until we have a nice little shelter. If you find a nice piece of bark like this would make really good for your shelter. If you have to build a shelter, it's really nice. So the next thing we need to find is water. If you don't have any running water hanging around where you are, one thing you can look for are grapevines. So make sure that you're correctly identifying a grapevine versus a poison ivy vine. So this is a grapevine. It's kind of scaly, but we also aren't seeing any like red tendrils coming off of it. And some of the baby ones over here are right here, and they just kind of hang down from the trees like this. Poison ivies are usually a little bit more closer to the trunk. So we've got our poison ivy, or we've got our grapevine. It's pretty big. I can't get my hand all the way around it, so this should be a good one. And if you have a knife with you, you can start kind of cutting it at angles, and hopefully if there's been rain in the area, you should be able to get some water out of here. One thing you can do is you can look for kind of a spot that looks like it's been wet recently, and you can kind of start digging in here, and it might take a while, but as you start digging, you might be able to start getting some water out of here. So we've got a little bit, but if we keep trying, maybe we can get a little bit more water. Did you know that all parts of the dandelion are actually edible? I feed them to my tortoise all the time, but they're also okay for us to eat. I know some people will take the heads, obviously when they're not as floofy as they are now, when they're still yellow, and you can actually fry them. And Vicky said that they're really good in pancakes. The roots are used for tea, but you can also eat the greens. A lot of people make fried dandelion greens or just kind of add them to salads. So we finished our hike. We found a couple things that we could use as food, water, and shelter. So I encourage you to go out and take a hike or look around your yard and see what kinds of things you could use for food, water, and shelter. If you're from a different area, make sure you're looking up what's edible in your area and you're getting parents' permission before going around and eating wild edibles. Some things look very similar to other things that may not be edible, so just make sure that you're checking that out with somebody who knows what they're doing. So have fun and practice your survival skills.